First Contact and Revelation. Captain Ilara Hayes stood on the bridge of the Venture Beyond, Earth's first deep space exploration vessel capable of traversing the vast distances between star systems in mere months rather than generations. The ship represented the pinnacle of human achievement, a fusion of quantum propulsion and experimental AI navigation systems that had finally broken the light speed barrier that had kept humanity confined to their solar system for so long. Proximity alert, Captain. We're detecting artificial structures in orbit around the fourth planet, announced Lieutenant Commander Ravi Kapoor, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Maintain distance and initiate first contact protocols, Ilara ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Humanity had prepared for this moment for centuries, the discovery of an alien civilization. Let's introduce ourselves properly. The Venture Beyond had traveled 17 light-years from Earth to reach the Epsilon Eridani system, following unusual radiation signatures that suggested advanced technology. What they found exceeded all expectations: a thriving civilization with orbital habitats and enormous structures visible even from their current distance. They're responding to our transmission, Captain, called Communications Officer Wei Chen. They're sending coordinates for an approach vector and what appears to be docking instructions. Ilara nodded, trying to process the implications. The aliens not only existed but understood their technology enough to provide compatible docking procedures. Acknowledge their transmission. Helm, take us in slowly. As they approached, the alien structures grew ever more impressive. Vast geometric arrays that seemed to pulse with energy, orbital platforms that dwarfed anything humans had ever constructed. The alien vessel that came to escort them was sleek and seamless, more like a living organism than a machine. "My God," whispered Dr. Lydia Okafor, the ship's xenobiologist. "Those vessels must be at least a kilometer in length. Their material technology alone must be centuries beyond ours." The docking procedure was flawless, the alien ship guiding them to a massive orbital station. What followed was a carefully choreographed exchange of mathematical and linguistic data that allowed their AI systems to build a rudimentary translation matrix. The aliens called themselves the Valari. They resembled upright canines with 6 limbs, their bodies covered in fine scales rather than fur. Their civilization was ancient, over 12,000 years of recorded history. Their technology made Earth's greatest achievements look like children's toys. For 3 days, the exchange continued. The Valari were cordial but reserved, sharing information about their biology, basic cultural structures, and technological capabilities, yet always maintaining a careful distance, both physically and informationally. "They're studying us," Ilara remarked to her senior staff during a private briefing. "They're giving just enough to keep us talking while they assess what we are." Dr. Marcus Lee, the ship's chief science officer, agreed. "Notice how they answer our questions with questions of their own. How they keep steering conversations toward human history, human biology, human problem-solving approaches. Standard anthropological technique," Lydia added. "We would do the same." On the 4th day, everything changed. The Valari delegation arrived with additional members, taller individuals with distinctive cranial markings that the translation system identified as indicators of leadership rank. "We have observed your species for some time," the lead Valari announced without preamble. "Your vessel's arrival was not unexpected, though it occurred earlier than our models predicted." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. "You've been watching Earth for approximately 400 of your years," the alien confirmed. "Initially, we detected primitive radio transmissions. Later, we established observation posts within your solar system." The revelation stunned the human delegation. 400 years of surveillance, and humanity had never detected their presence. "Why reveal this now?" Ilara asked carefully. The Valari leader's head tilted, a gesture the translation system couldn't interpret. "Because you have demonstrated a capability that concerns us." "We've done nothing threatening," Ilara protested. "It is not what you have done. It is what you are." The alien gestured to a nearby console, and a holographic display activated, showing scenes from human history. Wars, yes, but also the building of the pyramids, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, the digital age, the climate restoration, the quantum breakthrough. Your species adapts at an unprecedented rate, the Valari continued. You faced extinction 17 times in your recorded history. Each time, you not only survived but emerged stronger. Another display activated, showing mathematical models and simulations. We have studied 12,000 sentient species across our explored space. None demonstrate your pattern of cognitive development. Your neural pathways form connections that our biologists previously considered impossible. Dr. Okafor leaned forward. Are you saying there's something unique about human brains? Not the physical structure, the alien clarified. The function. Your minds can hold contradictory ideas simultaneously. You make innovative connections between unrelated concepts. You pursue solutions that had a high probability of failure simply to satisfy curiosity. Creativity, Marcus whispered. They're talking about human creativity. A dangerous trait, the Valari stated flatly. One that makes your future development unpredictable. Ilara felt her skin prickle with unease. I fail to see how our creativity constitutes a threat. Predictability ensures stability, the alien replied. Species that develop along predictable technological paths can be safely integrated into the greater community. Species that make unexpected technological leaps cannot. The final display showed Earth itself, with overlaid data streams that Ilara couldn't begin to comprehend. Your quantum propulsion system, the Valari continued, was developed 3 centuries before our models predicted such a capability would emerge on your world. This is not the first time you have defied predictive modeling. It will not be the last. So what exactly are you saying? Ilara asked, though she already feared the answer. The consensus has determined that unrestricted human development represents an unacceptable risk factor. Containment protocols are being implemented. Containment. Ilara's voice hardened. You mean imprisonment. A temporary measure, the Valari insisted. Until we better understand how to integrate your species safely, your vessel will remain here while we establish communication with your government. And if we refuse? Ravi asked. The Valari's expression remained unreadable. Refusal is not accounted for in the protocols. As if to emphasize the point, the station trembled slightly. Through the viewing ports, Ilara could see energy fields activating around the venture beyond, effectively immobilizing the ship. This is an act of aggression against humanity, Ilara said firmly. We came in peace, and peace will be maintained, the Valari responded. But you must understand, what we fear is not your weapons or your strength. We fear the unpredictability of your minds. As the Valari delegation departed, leaving human guards at the entrance to their quarters, Ilara gathered her senior staff close. Options, she asked quietly. We're outmatched technologically, Ravi said. We can't fight our way out. Marcus was examining one of the alien devices left in their quarters. Maybe we don't have to, he said thoughtfully. They fear how we think, not what we can build. They fear our creativity, Lydia added, which means they lack it themselves. Ilara nodded slowly as an idea began to form. And that might be exactly the weakness we need to exploit. Their right to fear human minds, just not for the reasons they think. The human response. The venture beyond had been effectively impounded for 3 days. The Valari maintained a veneer of hospitality, but the human delegation was confined to a limited area of the orbital station, their communications with Earth blocked, their ship surrounded by energy fields that rendered its systems inoperative. They've contacted Earth, Ilara informed her senior staff during their morning briefing. Dr. Okafor managed to decode some of their transmissions. They're demanding that Earth dismantle all quantum propulsion research facilities as a gesture of cooperation. Disarmament by another name, Ravi muttered. First our ships, then our defense systems. Standard colonial tactic, Marcus added. They're establishing technological dominance before making more extensive demands. Ilara nodded. But I think we found a vulnerability in their approach. Lieutenant Wei, share what you've discovered. Wei pulled up a holographic display of Valari psychological assessments. Their entire civilization is built on predictability. They value stability above all else. Their technological development follows rigidly structured paths that have remained consistent for millennia. No innovation? Asked Lydia. Innovation within extremely narrow parameters, Wei clarified. Their advances come from optimization, not creative leaps. They perfect what exists rather than imagining what could be, which explains why they fear human unpredictability, Ilara concluded. Our tendency to make intuitive leaps doesn't fit their worldview. More importantly, Marcus added, their systems aren't designed to handle unexpected inputs. I've been analyzing their computational architecture through the environmental controls in our quarters. They use deterministic algorithms, incredibly advanced ones, but still fundamentally predictable. Ilara smiled for the first time in days. Then we give them something unpredictable. Dr. Lee, what's the status of our special project? Marcus glanced at his tablet. Ready for implementation. We've reprogrammed our personal devices to emit a cascading series of contradictory signals that should confuse their monitoring systems. And I prepared a cultural presentation that should thoroughly distract them. Lydia added with a hint of mischief. Surrealist art, non-Euclidean mathematics, and quantum consciousness theory, concepts their rigid minds will struggle to categorize. Good, Ilara said. And the real operation? Ravi lowered his voice. Officers Chen and Patel have located an access point to their environmental control systems. If we can gain control, we can modify the atmospheric composition in specific sections of the station. Nothing harmful, just enough to cause drowsiness in Valari physiology. Execute at 800 tomorrow, Ilara ordered. Remember, we're not looking to fight, just to create enough confusion to reach our ship and break free of their containment field. The next morning, the human delegation requested a formal meeting with Valari leadership to discuss cultural exchange initiatives. As the alien representatives gathered in the conference room, Lydia began her presentation. To understand humanity, you must understand how we perceive reality. She began, displaying Salvador Dali's The Persistence of Memory on the large view screen. This artwork simultaneously represents and challenges conventional notions of time. The Valari representatives tilted their heads in that now familiar gesture of confusion. The clocks are melting. Lydia continued, suggesting that time itself is malleable, subjective rather than absolute. Time is not subjective, one Valari objected. It is a fundamental constant. Is it? Marcus chimed in. Our quantum physics suggests otherwise. Consider the dual-slit experiment, where observation itself affects the behavior of particles. As the discussion continued, growing increasingly philosophical, Wei and Ravi quietly activated their modified devices. Throughout the station, environmental systems began receiving contradictory commands, lights flickering in random patterns, temperature regulation fluctuating unpredictably. The Valari became visibly agitated as their orderly environment descended into chaos. Security alerts began sounding throughout the station. Please remain calm, the lead Valari urged. Our systems are experiencing temporary anomalies. Perhaps we should continue this discussion later, Ilara suggested innocently. As the Valari hurried to address the growing systems failures, the human team swiftly implemented the next phase of their plan. Modified atmospheric controls began pumping slightly elevated levels of nitrogen into sections of the station where Valari security personnel were concentrated. Not enough to cause harm, but sufficient to induce mild disorientation and slowed reactions. Move now, Ilara ordered over their secure channel. We have a 20-minute window at most. The human team split into two groups. Ilara led Marcus and Lydia toward the command center, while Ravi took Wei and the engineering team toward the Venture Beyond's docking bay. They encountered minimal resistance. Most of the Valari were preoccupied with resolving the cascading system failures. Those they did encounter seemed sluggish, confused by the humans' direct violation of established protocols. Their psychology works against them, Lydia observed as they slipped past a security checkpoint. They literally cannot process that we would act against our apparent self-interest by risking confrontation. At the command center, Ilara's team found the Valari leadership frantically attempting to restore order to their systems. "This is impossible," one was saying. "The atmospheric fluctuations follow no logical pattern." "Because there isn't one," Ilara announced as they entered. "We introduced random variables into your systems." The Valari turned, expressions unreadable to human eyes, but their body language conveying shock. "You've compromised critical station functions," the lead Valari said. "This behavior validates our concerns about human unpredictability." "No," Ilara countered. "It demonstrates why your fears are misplaced. We could have caused real damage to your systems, but we didn't. We created confusion, not destruction." "What is your purpose here?" demanded the Valari. "To negotiate from a position of equality, not containment," Ilara replied. "Meanwhile, my engineers are disabling the fields around our ship. We will depart peacefully if allowed, or we can continue demonstrating human creativity in ways you'll find increasingly disruptive." The lead Valari conferred briefly with its colleagues in their native language. Finally, it turned back to Ilara. "Your actions are without precedent in our experience," it admitted. "Our models failed to predict this approach. And they always will," Marcus stated. "Human creativity can't be modeled with deterministic algorithms. That's both our strength and your assurance." "Explain," the Valari demanded. "The same unpredictability you fear is what prevents us from becoming truly dangerous," Lydia elaborated. "We question ourselves. We consider multiple perspectives. We correct course when we make mistakes. Rigid thinking is far more dangerous than creativity." Ilara stepped forward. "We don't want conflict. We want exchange of ideas, culture, knowledge, but as equals, not as a contained species." A signal chimed on her communicator. Ravi's team had successfully disabled the containment field around the venture beyond. "You have a choice," Ilara continued. "Attempt to contain us, knowing now that your models fundamentally misunderstand human nature, or engage with us openly, despite the uncertainty that brings." For long moments, the Valari leadership conferred. Finally, the lead Valari spoke. "Your demonstration has unexpected implications. The consensus will require time to assimilate this new information." "Does that mean we're free to leave?" Ilara pressed. "Yes," the Valari conceded. "Your vessel's systems have been restored. You may return to Earth with our reconsideration of initial containment protocols." As the human delegation prepared to depart, the lead Valari approached Ilara privately. "What you demonstrated today, this capacity to act outside predictive parameters while still maintaining ethical constraints, it is remarkable," it said, using a term the translation system struggled to convey accurately. "It's what makes us human," Ilara replied simply. "We have existed for 12,000 years by eliminating uncertainty," the Valari said. "Your species embraces it. Perhaps there is something to be learned from this approach." Aboard the venture beyond, as they broke orbit and charted a course for home, Ilara gathered her crew on the bridge. "What we accomplished today matters beyond just our freedom," she told them. "We've established that humanity won't be judged solely by our technology or our strength, but by the true source of our potential, our minds." She gazed at the viewscreen as the alien world receded behind them. "They feared our creativity because they couldn't predict it. Now they're beginning to understand that this is exactly why they should welcome it." "Do you think they'll actually change their approach?" Ravi asked skeptically. "They've survived 12 millennia by perfecting what exists," Ilara said. "We've survived by imagining what could be. Both approaches have value, And now, perhaps, both species can benefit from what the other has to offer. As the venture beyond engaged its quantum drive, preparing for the journey home, Ilara knew that humanity's first contact had forever changed both species. The Valari had learned that what they feared most about humans, the unpredictable creativity of their minds, was not a threat to be contained, but a gift to be understood. And humanity had learned that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from strength of arms, but from strength of imagination.